Good morning. This is Mrs. Turner, and this is English 8 for Friday, March the 20th. I want to very quickly have you turn to page 196. I want to give you the answers to yesterday's problems just to make sure that you got them correct. Now, we did the first three, I believe, in exercise C together. So look at number 4. God can supply our needs more abundantly than we realize. More describes abundantly. Number 5, Ms. Laughlin crochets amazingly well. Amazingly describes well. We will be arriving very shortly. Very is always an adverb and it describes shortly. Do your work more cheerfully and you will find yourself doing it more easily also. More describes cheerfully and more describes easily. There are 2. Mr. Jackson acted very quickly during the emergency. Very describes quickly. Now remember, when an adverb describes a verb, it can come before that verb, after the verb, or even in the middle of the verb phrase. Look at exercise D. You were supposed to underline a verb, an adverb that modified a verb with one line. You were supposed to circle an adverb that modifies an adjective, or put a box around an adverb that described another adverb. I'm going to read these answers to you quickly. Number 1, circle gloriously. Number 2, you should have put a box around almost and a circle around completely. Number 3, you should have underlined yesterday, underlined completely, and put a box around very. Number 4, put a line under heartlessly and a line under thoughtfully. Number 5, put a line under decently. Number 5, also put a line under orderly. Number 6, you should circle extremely and you should have underlined secretly. Number 7, you should have circled perfectly, underlined still. Number 8, circled exceptionally. Now, if you missed any of those, or you have questions about them after you go back and looked at them, email me and let me help you sort through that particular sentence. I want you to understand it as we go into this next phase. We're going to talk about diagramming today. Diagramming an adverb is exactly like diagramming an adjective. You put it on a slanted line under the word that it describes. Now remember, an adjective answers the questions: which one, what kind, how much, how many, or whose. An adverb tells us where, when, how often, or to what extent. Please remember, an adjective always is it's describing or modifying a noun or a pronoun. That means it's a person, place, thing, or idea, or word that takes the place, like he, she, they, each, every, okay? An adverb always describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Let's look at our box. You should diagram neatly, and yes, you should. The word neatly is describing should diagram. How should you diagram? Neatly. Notice we put it under a slanted line underneath. Adverb modifying an adjective. An extremely cold winter has finally ended. When did it end? Finally. What kind of winter? It was an winter. It was a cold winter. But wait a minute. How cold was it? It was extremely cold. The word extremely is an adverb telling us how cold. An adverb describing an adjective. Next, an adverb modifying another adverb. She had been waiting very patiently. How patiently? Very patiently. Patiently tells us how she waited. Very tells us how patiently. Notice that the word very is on a diagonal line and connected to our adjective. Look at our adverb modifying a compound verb. We have tomorrow we shall hunt and fish. We shall hunt, fish. Notice that the word tomorrow goes onto the verb line on a diagonal. Goes right in front of the rocket, connecting it to both verbs, okay? An compound adverb is just like a compound adjective. Notice in our sentence here, he spoke rapidly but distinctly. Rapidly and distinctly both describe how he spoke, and they're connected with the word, the conjunction, but. So we put a dotted line with the word but. Now, the next one is an infinitive. Remember, an infinitive starts with the word to. To do well, you must have determination. Our verb is must have. Who must have? You. You must have, must have. Must have what? What do you own here? You must have determination. So determination is our direct object. To do well tells us how you must have it. Okay? And you're going to tell us why we must have this. To do well. Okay? So notice that we have to, the infinitive on the diagonal line. Do is going to be the same place we would put an object if it was prepositional. And then well tells us how to do. Okay, let's look at, we have the next one is an infinitive modifying an adjective. Okay, we're going to do it exactly the same way. We're going to put the word to, which is our infinitive, on the diagonal line, and then we're going to put the infinitive verb, the infinitive word on the line going across. Again, it's like a prepositional phrase the way we diagram, with the diagonal line and then the straight line. This is for the preposition, this is for the object. Well, here's the word to, here's the infinitive. Okay, they're done the same way. Let's look at number 1 in your book. Take out a piece of paper because you're going to need to write these down. And I want to make sure that you have them to turn in when it is time. Okay, all right. Number 1, Sydney willingly helped her mother. Sydney willingly helped her mother. I have it written on the board for us so that we can do it together. What is my verb? Well, my verb is that she helped. Who helped Sydney? So Sydney is my subject. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to write my subject and my verb. You do that on your paper while I put it on the board. Sydney helped. Now, what kind of verb do I have? I have an action verb. Since I have an action verb, I'm going to look this direction and I'm going to look for a direct object. Okay? Sydney helped who? Sydney helped what? Sydney helped her mother. Mother is our direct object. So go to your diagram and write your direct object. Now, we have the word willingly. Willingly tells us what? It tells us how Sydney helped. And if it answers the question, how, and it's about the verb, we know that it is an adverb. Helped how? Helped willingly. So on a diagonal line, write the word willingly. Next, we have the word her. Her. Her tells us whose mother? Her mother. So her, because it tells us whose, is an adjective. It's an adjective describing the word mother. Now, let's look at our second one. The hummingbird is an unusually small bird. What is your verb? Hopefully you said is. Who or what is? It is the hummingbird is. Okay? What kind of verb do I have? I have a linking verb. If I have a linking verb, then I have to say, do I have a predicate nominative? In other words, hummingbird equals on this side. Or do I have a predicate adjective, a word that describes my subject linking back to my subject, okay? So hummingbird equals what? It equals a bird, okay? So this is my predicate nominative. So underneath, go ahead and diagram your subject, your verb, and your predicate nominative. So we're going to put is, over here I'm going to put hummingbird. Now, I have a predicate nominative because I have a predicate nominative, I have to make a slanted line. Okay, a slanted line going because it links back to my subject. So we're going to write the word bird. Okay, now we have a few more words that we need to look at. We have the word the. The is an adjective, always an adjective. It comes right before the noun that it's going to describe. So the tells me about the hummingbird. Okay, next we have the word an. An is also always an adjective. A, an, and the are articles, are always adjectives. What does it describe? Well, the next noun is bird. Okay, so it's going to describe bird. Now, there's some other words. What about the word? What else tells me about the word? The bird, sorry, small. What kind of bird was it? It was a small bird. Small. Now, after you see that, we have one word left, unusually. Unusually. To what extent was it small? He was unusually. So we're going to make another line, diagonal line, connect them, and write the word unusually. Now, obviously, it's going to be very hard for Mrs. Turner to get that so you can see it well on the video. Okay, so it's an unusually small bird. Unusually describing small, small describing bird. Now, pretty simple, really, on how to diagram an adverb, okay? I want you to look at number 3. Foolish men deliberately and presumptuously, foolish men sin deliberately and presumptuously. That's a very true statement, because only a fool would go against what God says. I hope that you are being attentive, not just to your studies, but to your walk with God during this time. Okay, let's look at our sentence. The first thing we're going to do is find the verb. Okay, the verb is sin. Who sins? In this case, it is men. I'm going to write my diagram above. I think it'll be a little easier for you to see. Men sin. Okay, men sin. What kind? Which one? What kind? How much? How many? Or whose men? Well, what kind of men? They were foolish. So foolish describes the men. It is an adjective. Okay, what about the words deliberately and presumptuously? They tell us how men sin. So we're going to put our adjective is going to go on a diagonal line here and here. We're going to put deliberately, and over here we're going to put presumptuously. Now, these two adjectives, if you look at your sentence, have the word and between them, and is a conjunction. We're going to connect these two words and put the word and. Okay? Tonight, for homework, I want you to finish these diagrams. We will go over them tomorrow, but I need you to do them tonight for homework. So tonight for homework, we're on page 197. Your homework tonight is to do 4 through 8. 4 through 8 are the sentences that you need to diagram for homework. Have a good day.